So next on the agenda is House File 2230, which is the early childhood budget. While Chair Pinto's committee did have its own budget targets, this bill will actually be divided and placed into two other omnibus bills. So Article 4 and 5 will be added by motion to the Education Omnibus Bill today. Articles 1, 2, 3, and 6 will be included in the Health and Human Service Omnibus tomorrow as part of a Delete Everything Amendment. I have asked Chair Pinto to present the bill in its entirety today so we can all hear it, including consideration of any amendments the bill may require before it is divided. So Chair Pinto, I know you have an author's amendment. Would you like to move your bill for consideration by the committee? And then we will come back to the author's amendments after your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make that motion. I will note I see that Representative Krisha's hand is raised, Madam Chair, but I would like to make that motion as well.
Okay, so that is great. Representative Krisha, to the bill?
Yeah, actually, it's not to the bill yet. It's to the technicalities of what we're about to do. So
okay.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. So this is a procedural question. So that you just covered, we have $48 million of a separate target that's going to be added to the education finance bill today, and then 500 and or whatever the remaining dollars that goes to the Health and Human Services tomorrow. My question is, does this mean the education and the respective HHS targets change, or are there two separate targets? So like, for example, Chair Pinto's bill has 48 million in it. When that is here or leaves from here, will that still be a separate $48 million target that only encompasses the area of early childhood? And the biggest question I'm wondering about is how this will be handled on the floor with amendments and the ruling of being out of balance. In other words, could an amendment take $2 million from the other education bill and add it to Chair Pinto's to take him up to 50 million? Or will that be ruled out of balance because we have two separate targets?
Thank you, Representative Krisha. I'm going to forward that question to our fiscal analysis. Mr. Marks.
Madam Chair, Representative Krisha and members, paragraph D of House Rule 4.03 states that the major finance or revenue bills may be combined or separated. And then it goes on to say combined or separated bills must conform to the limits in the resolution as those limits apply to the accounts in those bills. So assuming this is going to be enforced the same way it has in the past, the education bill, for example, would have a target for the traditional education accounts and a target for the early childhood accounts, or that portion of the early childhood that portion of the early childhood bill that is in the education bill would be separate. So there would be, there'd basically be two separate targets within the education bill. That's the way this has been enforced in the past, and I assume it will be again.
And Mr. Marks, is that the same for Health and Human Service?
Madam Chair, that's correct. There would be a Health and Human Services target, and there would be a early childhood target within that bill.
Representative Krisha.
So, okay, thank you, Mr. Marks. So even though we have a new global target, they still are separate within it. So then my next question will be, and Mr. Marks, I don't know if you can answer this, but seeing that the large part of the early childhood portion will be added to the Health and Human Services bill, will that now make it a situation where the germaneness rule on education issues, we'll be able to introduce those in the Health and Human Services bill? I suspect we shouldn't be ruled out of order for introducing a new section of law when in fact that's already been done.
So,
Madam Chair, Representative Krisha, I'm not sure I'm the one to answer a germaneness question like that.
Yeah. So why
Mr. Marks, with all due respect, you're not the one that rules us out of order either. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So Representative Krisha, why don't we let Chair Pinto explain his bill and see if whether or not he can respond to that question for you. To the bill, Chair Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Krisha. And I'll note that how proud we all can be that we do, in fact, have a public budget target for the early childhood area. I believe that this is the first time in our state that has been the case this term. And so thank you to the members of the Ways and Means Committee and to Chair Moran for the support of that, because it does recognize how integrated this work is. However, to Representative Frisch's question, the fact is that after the presentation today, and I will be presenting on all aspects of our bill, the fact is that there will be this split happening, and the education, the early learning portions will be going in the direction of Chair Dabney's bill. The HHS portion is going in the direction of Chair Liebling and Schultz's bill. And so I think it will be clear enough at that point, as each piece is in each of those bills, that they're relevant to those particular sections. I long, Representative Creature, for the day when we have an integrated, perhaps maybe even make sense to have an integrated department on these issues. But for now, they're going to be going their separate paths. And so I think it should be relatively straightforward, but I guess we'll continue to deal with that as we go. So members, really proud to share with you this report and budget from the Early Childhood Committee. If you'll like to beg your indulgence here to just share just a couple of slides regarding our work as a committee, just to provide a bit of context, as I think it's important for all of us. And it's important to recognize that even before the pandemic, there really were these two crises that addressed a significant portion of our work as a committee. We're looking at everything involving the earliest years and early childhood development, but so much is focused on early care and learning. And the two crises are the opportunity gaps that we're well aware of in our state, and the fact that the economics in this sector simply do not work. They're both costs are extremely high for families and a lack of accessibility, but at the same time, the people doing this work are experiencing extremely low wages. And you can see headlines there on the right. On the opportunity gap piece, I think it's critical for us to recognize as a Ways and Means Committee that the gaps that we're seeing really start not just at age 4, but well before that, in the first 12, 24, 36 months. And this is why we found, and again, we're the Spending and Revenue Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, and recognizing that the earlier that we make investments, the higher returns we get. And so that we have this major crisis in the opportunity gap side. But then on the economic side, you can see that families are paying a huge proportion of their income for care. And the disparities in our state really going in the wrong direction in this area. The communities of families of color paying so much more, and incredibly burdensome for families. Meanwhile, though, the people doing this work, they are equally desperate. And I just want to make sure that we are aware that a quarter of the people doing the most important educating of the very first couple of years, that again, critical 12, 24, 36 months, they're worried about having enough food to feed their own families. And you can see these other pieces as well. And finally, critical for all of us around the state members is that our state is desperate. And in every corner of our state, we have huge economic development and workforce development challenges with a lack of early care and learning. So I just want to make sure that we have the context set for all of us members, and this is happening in every corner of our state, and these crises are interlocking and intersecting. And I finally just want to note that our Select Committee on Racial Justice had highlighted the need to invest in these areas as being absolutely critical. And so our committee does in fact respond to these needs. Our committee's budget does. And I'm just going to have then just 3 slides left to just make sure to have the highlights in each of these areas. The first is that focusing on low-income kids and the early care and learning that they need, we raise child care assistance program rates. This program that supports early care and learning for low-income families to the 50th percentile. This is not the federal standard, I should note, which is the 75th, but gets us a lot closer. We are currently at the minimum. We also reprioritize waiting lists to make sure we have as few children on those waiting lists as possible and getting that critical early learning and care to them. We increase funding for early learning scholarships, and I want to note that we're prioritizing the very youngest children. Again, if you think about that curve that I showed, and a particular prioritization on settings such as Early Head Start that have a focus on that. We permanently continue preschool opportunities for 4,000 children. You're going to hear more about this from Chair Dabney, because that's actually carried in the education finance budget, but really is a partnership between the committees. And we have significant support for family, friend, and neighbor care. A huge portion of our children are in the care of the person living down the street or of the auntie. And we want to make sure they're providing support for that in multiple ways, and for tribal early learning as well. This is an initiative from the administration. So a strong focus there. But we know that the concerns go beyond this. Again, we have concerns about accessibility all around our state. So what we do is have monthly payments for providers that continue payments that actually started during the pandemic that are focused on the individual educators and caregivers. Again, members, the economics of this sector do not work. And that would be that simply as one would expect when you have education. We don't expect there to be for-profit K-12. It does not make sense that we're going to be able to do this without some sort of public support. And that's what this connected here. Expansion grants to make sure we expand the supply through DHS. And I want to note that these parallel grants that we heard about from Chair Noor the other day in the Workforce and Business Development budget, there's support for children with disabilities receiving early care and learning. And we're increasing credentials in a number of ways as well. And finally, we want to make sure that we are reforming and evaluating this absolutely critical and deeply underfunded system. We establish a path to having an affordable and high quality early care and learning system with livable wages for those doing this work. Through a task force, we have a series of regulatory reforms and innovations by a family child care task force that's been meeting the last couple of years to lift up that incredibly important part of our work. We look at reforming the governance of early childhood, at consolidating our overlapping preschool programs. We evaluate the parent aware quality metric, which is very important. We're going to hear about that in the amendments in just a second. And then we evaluate our early care and learning programs through requiring a kindergarten readiness assessment. And finally, it's important that we evaluate the use of the federal funds. This is really grounded in this decision made as part of the American Rescue Plan to make sure that we're recognizing that early care and learning is critical infrastructure. It's something that we need for short-term success in our communities, so parents can work, so employers can expand, so communities can thrive, and also, of course, for the long-term success of our communities as well. This is where it all begins in those first couple of years. That's an overview of the bill. Members have, of course, considerable materials, and I'm sure we'll have discussion about it. I do, Madam Chair, I have an amendment and then a secondary amendment to make a couple tweaks to the bill, if it's appropriate to do that now.
All right, thank you, Chair Pinto. Would you like to move the A12 Authors Amendment now, as well as your A13 Amendment to the amendments?
Yes, I would like to do that, Madam Chair, and I will first move the A12 amendment to the bill, and I guess if it's appropriate, then move the A13 amendment to the A12, and I can explain both of them.
Okay, could you please do that?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, members, what the A12 does is two things. One is that it makes it fixes an error that was in the bill relating to that consolidation of preschool programs that I mentioned. That's at line 1.5 and 1.6, simply fixing an error. The rest of the amendment relates to a report regarding equity within Parent Aware, which, as I mentioned, is the quality rating system for our state. There is both a broad evaluation of Parent Aware and then actually two reports that have been in the bill. One of those was urging the department to continue some equity work that they're working on. Recently, a number of advocates have approached me to say that including that would be problematic, that they really like to have that process be able to go on its own. We have a separate equity report that's still in the bill, will remain. And so what the amendment does is simply takes out that one urging of, again, the continuation of a process that in fact is already going. And then the amendment then contains an adjustment in an increase in the amount of money being spent on the Parent Aware evaluation to reflect that second equity report. That's the A12. Members, the A13 then is that last night we heard from DHS that in fact there was a misunderstanding or miscalculation regarding the cost of that broader Parent Aware evaluation. And so that cost number then gets adjusted back down and actually is a savings in the A13 amendment regarding the cost of that Parent Aware evaluation. A little bit confusing, but essentially it's mostly technical and simply, as I say, removing the one equity report, but still leaving in the other regarding these two amendments.
All right, members, are there any questions on the amendment to the amendment? Okay, Representative Krisha? You have a question to the amendment?
I don't. I just hadn't put my hand back on yet. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So if not, Chair Pinto renews his motion to adopt the A13 amendment to the A12 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Is there any further discussion to the A12 amendment? If not, Chair Pinto renews his motion to adopt the A12 Amendment as amended. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. So members, are there any questions for Chair Pinto or the nonpartisan staff on the bill? Representative Creasy.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and to the author of the bill. I appreciate all your work and know where your passions lies. Representative Pinto, it's nice to have conversations with you offline because there's a lot of alignment on how we see solutions that can be accomplished for our earliest learning. So, and I do appreciate the fact that by putting a separate target out there, you call that out independently and show the importance of this area. So with that, I'll just go to a couple of small things on this bill. This is primarily the Finance Committee, and I don't want to go too far afield from that. I will just raise a couple of small questions and then hold my broader comments for the House floor back. But the couple issues that I see with your bill, Representative Pinto, you are pulling back the School Readiness Plus. Can you walk me through how you got to that?
Chair Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Creasy. And yes, certainly have enjoyed talking with you about these issues. So first, just a bit of context for everyone. So you're familiar with the preschool programs in our schools, both voluntary pre-K. Several years ago, there was an alternative path to that developed called School Readiness Plus that has sort of been expiring every couple of years. That is really just another way in which our schools are offering preschool. Representative Creasy, our thinking was that it did not make a lot of sense to have. So I should just note, this is already an extremely fragmented area, extremely complicated. And folks who've been on our committee, I think, have recognized it's incredible. There's just the sheer number of pieces, and it's because we've kind of been doing it in this real fragmented way. It did not make sense to me or to other members of the committee that we would continue having these two separate programs for funding preschool within our schools. And so what we've done in our bill is to consolidate those programs. I should note that that the expiring preschool slots are funded in Chair Dabney's bill, as I mentioned. But as far as why we would end School Readiness Plus, it's really we're just merging the two programs. So we have one program going forward.
Representative Creasy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pinto. So, and then earlier in that article, Article 4 is what I'm specifically related to. You note that school-based programs now required to employ licensed early childhood educators. So essentially, we are now requiring licensure for all school-based programs. Is that correct? And how did you get to that?
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, Chair Pinto.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Creasy. And to your question about that licensure requirement, that was a requirement within School Readiness Plus. And so in merging the programs, we sort of took pieces from both programs, probably more from the voluntary pre-K side, but that was a piece from School Readiness Plus that seemed worthy to bring over. And so that was where that came from. It didn't sort of come out of whole cloth. It was pulled over as part of a School Readiness Plus requirement.
Representative Creasy.
Okay, so thank you, Chair Pinto. Thank you, Madam Chair. So to the testifier. So I guess that just leaves me a little bit. I'm trying to figure out how you got there. And what we're actually trying to do, because schools could already choose to license and employ people however they wanted to. The school readiness program that, as you said, was very fragmented, and parents could either choose to do that or choose the voluntary pre-K path. Even though voluntary pre-K did not necessarily require a licensure. So parents were actually, in many cases, or if not, 90% or more, choosing pathways where they believed the quality of the teachers was just fine and the schools were doing just fine. And in fact, because of their 4-star ratings, had to have high quality teachers. And what you've done is you've taken out the fragmented program, but then kept the licensure to now make sure that there's a statewide mandate that everyone has licensure, and therefore preempting the school's decision on that and essentially usurping what their distinction of quality education is. Do I have that correct?
Chair Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Appreciate. Well, just one correction in what you described. It's not the individual family that's choosing a school readiness plus or voluntary pre-K program. It's the school that's choosing. So schools as a whole will offer school readiness plus or voluntary pre-K. The family presumably wouldn't even know because it's all preschool. It's just sort of the format the school has chosen. And again, the thinking there is that for those schools that were choosing school readiness plus, that licensure requirement was part of what they were choosing and having, and a number doing that. For those choosing to use voluntary pre-K, that wasn't a requirement. There's other ones as well, but we're sort of merging these two programs. So in that way, and I guess I should just note on the substance, you've got the next classroom over when the kids are 1 year old, they're in their kindergarten. You've got a licensed teacher in that room. I think that there's a logic in saying that we would make sure as we're trying to lift up this profession of early care and learning, that's part of just more broadly as to why we would want to be moving in that direction to really encourage that professionalization and support for what I pointed out are it's the lowest paid occupation for requiring a high school diploma for other aspects of it. So we really want to be lifting that up.
Representative Creasy.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. And there's a divergence there between where your explanation and how I see this. I mean, you're correct. The schools could choose it. The schools were choosing to do it and handle the licensure on their own and handle the quality of their education decisions on their own. And to your point, you can have a unlicensed teacher in one room and a licensed teacher in the very next room, separated by 8 inches of concrete. But that doesn't mean the licensure makes a quality distinction. And as we're going to find out when you pair this bill up with the education finance bill, the Pellsby board fees are going from $57 to $87. So now we're raising the fees to become licensed. And at the same time, so we make the barrier higher at a time when we're trying to bring more teachers into this profession, and particular teachers of color. So it seems to me on one hand, we speak to the fact that we want to increase the workforce and we want to attract more people in this, but we continue to raise the barriers, especially for teachers that we most desire. And as we're going to find out later, we also, we don't do much with the LIFO. In fact, we double down LIFO. So this just adds one more scenario, I believe, where good quality teachers can be easily shuffled out and not allowed to progress through the teaching career. So Chair Pinto, I see where you're going with it. I don't agree. I don't agree with what you're doing here. I think this is a barrier, and frankly, it's unnecessary. I think you could have actually accomplished this by just leaving the licensure out, knowing that schools were already doing this on their own, and educators were making that decision about their licensure as well. So this is just an area where we're going to disagree, and I see more barriers than less barriers for teachers. The last thing that I'll raise up on this is that I see as an issue with the bill is lifting the cap on the Pathway 2 scholarships. And I'm a big fan of getting the funding to the parents, just like we do with the stimulus checks, getting the dollars into the hands of the parents that can make those best decisions about their kids. By lifting the cap on the Pathway 2 scholarships, what you effectively do is fund the programs and the bureaucracy rather than the families. There's a divergence there about the best way to approach this. I err on the side of putting our families in the position to make more decisions about their education for their kids. So with that, I appreciate the bill. I appreciate the work you've done on it. And I'll close my questioning.
Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this really is more of a finance and process question, but so it'd probably be for you, Madam Chair. But my question is, my assumption is that we will be, after discussion, we will lay it on the table for later splitting it out between various sections. And so my question is, when that happens, I would sure love to have nonpartisan staff or somebody clearly differentiate what part of the targets and how much of the targets and for what purpose each of those is being split out so that we know. I do understand that we could probably figure that out through the bills itself, but I think it's important to get on the record and that everybody understands, how it's going to impact not only the current target for early childhood, but also the impact that's going to have in the underlying programs as well. So I'm just requesting that we have clarity on how that's going to be impacted when we do the splitting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Petersburg. I will be in consultation with Mr. Marks as to whether to ensure that he can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion to the bill? Okay, well, I want to thank Chair Pinto for his work to improve access to the vital services for our youngest Minnesotans and their families so that every child can get off to a great start in life. With that, Chair Pinto, I'd like to offer you the last words.
Well, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. I will note, it sounds like we may be getting to this in some different format, but as long as this is all in front of everyone, I will just simply note the fiscal spreadsheet that was posted that I think does address Representative Petersburg's question quite well. The one page lists the human services area, and the next page lists the early education area. That says where the different funds will be going. I think, Madam Chair, that the plan was to have this be the focus to sort of have our whole discussion about our committee's proposal. Now there may be issues that arise later, but simply I want to note, I think that we really pulled together a set of proposals to address this area of huge crisis for our state and also huge opportunity for our state as well. And very much appreciate your support, Madam Chair, and the support of members of the committee to make a big difference here. Look forward to continued conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. So there being no further discussion, the chair will lay over file 2230 as amended.